Hello,
How
hello.
are you? Welcome back to the second day of Restart the Economy. We hope you had a restful night and that you carry with you the light and joy of yesterday.
Yes, Naya, and talking about yesterday, I want please you to give a round of applause to our fantastic talents of yesterday night. Whoa, please. I was with my mouth like that. You were fantastic. You were fantastic. I could only do like, in the end, you were amazing. So before we begin, we want to express also our heartfelt gratitude, a special thank you to all the interpreters who are accompanying us with their exceptional translation work throughout all these days. So thank you so much for helping our voices reach one another across 5 different languages. Thank you.
And now we invite you to slow down, breathe, and reconnect with the source that inspires your journey. We present you a spiritual restart, a reflection inspired by the Canticle of the Creatures.
After Francis was sold, the thief's death was near. Although he was suffering more than usual, he seems transfigured by new joy and cried out,
Welcome, my sister Death.
Sister Death, why does he call it Sister Death? Asked me Elia, 15 years old, after a reflection on the Canticle of Creatures in the woods below La Verna, the same woods that might have inspired Francis 800 years earlier. When almost blind, he could only praise through the memory of the heart. He didn't know he had the same name as Brother Elia, who was afraid people might be scandalized by Francis' joy at the moment of his death. Yes, death is a scandal. That scares us. We don't even want to talk about it. Yet we are surrounded by it. Pandemics, wars, natural disasters, migrants lost at sea, suicides, even among young people, consumed by loneliness and emptiness. These deaths are the result of the intertwined and overlapping crises of our time, crises in which our economic system is often complicit. As Pope Francis warned in 2013,
Such an economy kills.
today, in a world where the sweet song of Francis has become a bitter cry, how can we possibly see death as a sister?
Maybe the answer lies in the Canticle. Francis speaks about 2 types of death, bodily death and the second death, a phrase from the book of Revelation.
Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the old heaven and the old earth has disappeared. And the one seated on the throne said, Look, I am making everything new. Write this down, for what I tell you is trustworthy and true. To all who are thirsty, I will give freely from the springs of the water of life. All who are victorious will inherit these blessings. I will be their God, and they will be my children. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the corrupt, the immoral, murderers, idol worshippers, and all liars, their fate is in the lake of fire that burns with sulfur. This is the second death.
Revelation contrasts 2 kinds of people, the liars destined to the second death, and the victorious, who are these liars and who are these victorious. What is great lie we live today and what is the truth. As Pope Leo reminded us yesterday, the great lie of our time, is the illusion that the powerful can save the world. That history belongs to those with economic or military force. But the truth is that the real revolutions begin with the humble, unknown people, often young people. They begin with those women and men who understand that a new heaven and a new earth are possible only if we first change ourselves, as happened to St. Francis.
That which had appeared bitter to me was changed into sweetness of soul and body.
The deep transformation Francis and his friar brought, reaching every layer of society and even reshaping the economy, began with a simple but powerful act of gratuitous love, kissing the leper, which forever transformed, as we just heard, Francis' understanding of the true source of joy in life. The victorious, the real winners, are those who, like Francis, can prize life, even in illness and death, because they see everything as a gift. Francis can sing of death because his whole life was a song, a praise. We too can be victorious whenever we live like him, embodying the change we wish to see in our society and make space for gratuitousness. Be witnesses, Pope Francis urged us in his last address, September 24, words that now echo like a testament.
Be witnesses. If you want other young people to approach the economy with your ideals, it will be your witness of life that will attract them. Be consistent in your choices. Well, consistency is not in fashion today. Seek to be appreciated for your projects and achievements, not for being numerous and powerful. Instead, transmit to many what you have received, namely the good news, that inspired by the gospel, even the economy can change for the better.
The victorious are also those who listen to the Spirit, as we read in another passage of the book of Revelation. The one who hears and welcomes a call, and, like the prophets, by hearing the voice of the Spirit and recognizing it, can interpret the present to generate processes that transform the future.
And here we are, for we too have received a call. Like Francis, we are called to repair the ruins of our time, a personal calling that, thanks to the economy of Francesco, has become a shared calling, a common vocation. Pope Francis reminded us,
You were already committed to creating a new economy. My letter brought you together, gave you a broader horizon, and made you feel part of a worldwide community of young people who have the same vocation. When a young person sees in another young person the same calling, and this experience is repeated with hundreds, even thousands of other young people, then great things become possible. Even the hope of changing an enormous and complex system like the world economy.
this call to communion is one of the most powerful messages of the Canticle too. The Canticle reminds us that every song bears a witness, because when we raise a song, it's such that others may join us. It's a way of saying that my joy is not complete unless it embraces all the human beings, and even more, the whole earth, the sun, the water, the wind. We have spoken about new worlds. So, what does the new world we long for look like? As EOF youth, what is the vision of the world we want to embody? If we are heirs of both St. Francis and Pope Francis, both the Canticle and the Laudato Si encyclica give us a guiding program, a vision of the reality. They reveal a world where fraternity and care shape every relationship, and where sustainability is not enough, as ecology needs to be integral, and the economy needs to recover its soul.
In this world, each creature has sacred dignity.
Praised be you, my Lord, with all your creatures.
In this world, the sun, the moon, and the stars are brothers and sisters because they remind us that the night is not endless. We are sentinels in the night, called to respond to the cry of the earth and the poor, who cry to us.
Watchmen, what is left of the night? How much longer until dawn?
We are the morning coming. Our personal and common history, our economic narrative, our entrepreneurial projects, our social initiatives, our educational commitment, our advocacy actions and policy proposals, these are lights shining in the world. This is the hope that doesn't disappoint.
Praise be you, my Lord, through brother wind and every kind of weather, through whom you give sustenance to your creatures.
In this world, the winds can be called brother, because no matter the historic time we are experiencing, there will always be a wind showing us a possible reason to praise, a possible direction to change this economy by looking at what gives real substance to life. The wind in the scriptures is associated to the Spirit, unseen but moving all things and renewing them, just as love does. In this time of renewal we are experiencing in the economy of Francesco as we became a foundation, we are invited to recompose the possible tension between the structure and the spirit, remembering with the prophet Ezekiel that is the spirit that gives life to the bones. Therefore, if we all leave room to the spirit, our structures will truly serve the transformation toward this new world we are longing for.
That's why Brother Wind is connected with Brother Fire, playful and strong, symbol of our deepest desires. Fire brings joy and strength, a reminder always also in times of crisis, to return to what first ignited our calling.
In this world, Sister Water is chaste and humble, as Francis sings, because she does not assert herself, that she's a gift, given freely to all who are thirsty, we heard in the Revelation. She's also very useful and precious because she's the water of life, the one satisfying the thirst for meaning, the source of a fullness of light. Let us ask ourselves, what is my deepest thirst? What is my soul really thirsting for, and what and who can give me that water that always satisfies? How beautiful if, as EOF, we could give drink to the thirsty, because we ourselves have found that water that truly satisfies. Finally, in this world, peace is not negotiated, but as Pope Leo reminded us, it always begins with everyday gesture of patience and courage, listening and action. It is again a personal call, a call to forgiveness.
Praised be you, my Lord, through those who give pardon for your love. Blessed are those who endure in peace.
When the bishop and the civil authority of Assisi were in conflict, Francis added this verse to this canticle, invited them to listen to it in a public event. The words, melody, and the circumstances deeply moved the two, who forgave each other. It changed starting from love, as Pope Francis told us.
The world of economics is in need of change. You will not change it only by becoming ministers, Nobel Prize winners, or great economists. Rather, you will change it above all by loving it. Love the economy. Concretely, love the workers, the poor, prioritizing the situations of the greatest suffering.
This is neither sentimental nor utopian. It is the same way Francis regulated many peace processes, from the Wolf of Gubbio to the Sultan in the Middle East. The way, even today, many reconciliation experiences are born, such as the parent circles between Palestinians and Israelis.
It's exactly here, the canticle and the jubilee meet. If the land is a mother, not a possession, then I can only receive it as a gift and promise. This is the spirit of Leviticus. Let the land rest. Return it to the poor and the stranger, because one day I might be the poor or that foreigner. How different things will be if we could remember it, even today. If time itself is a gift, then there is time for work and time for rest. Otherwise, we become slaves. How many times are we slaves without being aware of it? The Jubilee sought to prevent inequality from becoming structural. Every law against the universal destination of goods becomes a law against God and against the creatures. Right for that dignity of each one that we find in the canticle. We might say, this is not possible. Yet, Revelation reminds us, write this down, for what I tell you is trustworthy and true. And so, even in a world far from this vision, we, the young people of the economy of Francesco, can say it loudly.
This is not utopia. We are already building this change. At the end, we can finally answer Elia's question, why sister death? Death is a sister because she reveals what truly matters. She teaches us powerlessness, humility, and gratitude. And thus, she protects us from the delusion of omnipotence, taking hold of us when we think that everything depends on us. As Scripture says,
We have passed from death to life because we love each other.
death is a sister because she reminds us that whoever does not love remains in death. So we can make France's final invitation our own, a horizon for our lives and for the economy of Francesco.
All of you, praise and bless the Lord, and give him thanks, and serve him with great humility.
toi, splendeur et majesté, par l'infiniment grand, l'infiniment petit, et par le firmament, ton manteau étoilé, et par frère et soleil, je veux crier mon Dieu. Tu es grand, tu es beau, Dieu vivant, Dieu très haut. Tu es le Dieu d'amour, mon Dieu. Tu es grand, tu es beau, Dieu vivant, Dieu très haut, Dieu présent en toute création. Par tous les océans et par toutes les mers, par tous les continents et par l'eau des rivières, par le feu qui te dit comme un buisson ardent, et par l'aile du vent, je veux crier mon Dieu. Tu es grand, tu es beau, Dieu vivant, Dieu très haut. Tu es le Dieu d'amour, mon Dieu. Tu es grand, tu es beau, Dieu vivant, Dieu très haut, Dieu présent en toute création. Par toutes les montagnes et toutes les vallées, par l'ombre des forêts et par les fleurs des champs, par le bourgeon des arbres et l'herbe de prairie, par le blé en épi, je veux crier mon Dieu. Tu es grand, tu es beau, Dieu vivant, Dieu très haut. Tu es le Dieu d'amour, mon Dieu. Tu es grand, tu es beau, Dieu vivant, Dieu très haut, Dieu présent en toute création.
Well, what a beautiful moment. So, thank you, Chiara Subrizzi, for guiding us through this profound moment of reflection.
Yes, and thank you so much, Niado, for your beautiful, beautiful music. Thanks for sharing this gift with us that help us enter this space with depth and openness.
Yeah, thank you both, you and Nayeli. Sorry, and Chiara.
I'm Nayeli.
Because that reminds us why we are here, right? And for helping us begin this day with meaning and renewed purpose. Okay, so let's move on now. Before we continue, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude also to all let's give a round of applause for them, right? To all the volunteers from the United World Project who have been tirelessly supporting the preparation, logistics, hospitality, and safety of this event since Thursday. Your generosity and dedication make this gathering possible. Thank you.
And we now move forward with other voices who work with the economy of Francesco and help sustain this shared journey.
So it is our joy to not introduce because he was here with us yesterday, but reintroduce Fra Giampiero Gambaro, member of the EOF Foundation Council of Founders. Welcome, Fra Giampiero.
The floor is yours.
Buongiorno. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, my dear friends. Few words, very, very fast. Very, very fast. We are late. On behalf of the Conference of the Franciscan Family, we are the latest arrivals here at the EOF. So just welcome to restarting the economy. During the Jubilee year, our tradition invites us to allow for rest for the land, debt remission, liberation from slavery, and transformation of war into peace. And we are celebrating, as we had already a beautiful and emotion moment just a few minutes ago. We celebrate our 800 years of the Canticle of Brother Sun and Sister Moon. Francis wrote the canticle in Italian, in Umbrian Tuscan language, not in Latin, in a popular language, so he could communicate with everyone without excluding anyone. And he left us a song, not an homily or a catechesis, in a pleasant style to be sung, to be remembered more easily, to be sung alone or in a group or in a choir, so that brothers and friends, like the Lord's fools, the Lord's clowns, would sing it in squares like a concert, but without asking for a price. Nothing, for free. Francis asked only one thing to his friends: the transformation of the heart, that is, the perseverance in the joy of the Spirit. And Pope Francis told us that the importance of perspective, the transformation of the heart as a change of perspective, the transformation of the point of origin of my gaze. And for our artists, this is called anamorphosis, an artistic technique by which, to understand the figure that has to unfold, you need to walk, you need to move, and change the point of observation. Because at first sight, it appears like something ugly, unpresentable, and monstrous. But little by little, it is revealed. It unveils as interesting, beautiful, and meaningful. St. Francis, to remind his spiritual journey, speaks of the bitterness that the lepers cause him, which is transformed into sweetness of soul and body. Because he moves, he changes perspective. But the road from bitter to sweet can be quite long, even overwhelming. Anamorphosis is to see that what I lack, my poverty, my weaknesses, our weaknesses, from two different perspectives. On the one hand, scarcity as hardship, deficit, affliction, frustration, diminishment, negativity, death. But on the other, lack as excess, drive, strength, transcendence, attraction, surplus, and not deficit. This is what Jesus teaches us, to value what is lacking, not as an affliction, but as an excess. Then the rest, the discarded, the stone the builders rejected, is raised to the power of generative force. And it is this faith that allows the miraculous transfiguration of what is lacking, kept inside the discarded into superabundance. But how can waste become superabundant? This is the miracle of desire, to transform the discarded into a holy seed, to make what I lack the object that generates my desire. And the person of desire is a person of faith. And the person of faith is a person of desire. We find ourselves always between not everything. I'm not God. I cannot do whatever I like. And almost nothing. And this is very Christian, very biblical. Just think to the many miracles or signs of Jesus. He always begins with what is really available, the reality, not from theories or doctrines or cults or whatever, but from water to make the best wine, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes to fully delight and appease the hunger of 5,000 men. And we have the best wine ever tasted, not from plain water, but from the very, very dirty water filled with bacteria and the dust of purification. It is important to remember that beauty and ease rarely coincide. This culture focused on comfort is somehow incompatible with those who seek the sublime. I'd like to conclude these words by saying that the canticle teaches, and we are experiencing this in these days, as something regarding strategy and tactics and about method. St. Francis teaches us to begin with beauty, not with moralizing sense of guilty. In this regard, speaking of the canticle and the method of St. Francis, it is worth citing a magnificent example given by Pope Francis to the University of Bologna in 2017. Regarding the fight against mediocrity and banality, Pope Francis cites the classic example of Ulysses, so as not to succumb to the song of the sirens, who seduced sailors and caused them to crash against the rocks, tied himself to the ship mast and plugged the ears of his fellow travelers. Orpheus, on the other hand, to counteract the sirens' song, did something else. He sang a more beautiful melody which enchanted the sirens. The most beautiful, the loveliest, the most gorgeous attracts. Voluntarist moralism repels and drives away. Wishing you all a very productive and fruitful and joyful day. And a big hug to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fra Giampiero. Well, we would like to share with you also a message from someone who wished to be here with us today but could not. Margaret Cahan is the president of the Focolare movement.
This is the right moment to warmly thank you, the staff of here, Centro Mariapoli Internazionale, for their wonderful hospitality and collaboration throughout this event. Margaret joined us through this video with the greeting and reflection.
Hello to all of you participating in this event. I am delighted to send you my greetings, even if only by video, because in these days of your meeting, I am in my homeland, the Holy Land. I did not want to miss the chance to convey my full support for your conference, Restarting the Economy, a title that expresses an urgent need, a need to start again, to set in motion an economy that can look to the future with new eyes and an open heart. I have followed your journey from the very beginning, since the 1st of May 2019, when Pope Francis, with great insight, called each of you to be protagonists of a new economy, capable of rebuilding the common home that was falling apart. Over these years, you have responded generously. You have created villages and local hubs, economy of Francesco schools, with lessons given by leading economists and the economy of Francesco Academy, which has supported more than 60 students in their PhDs and postdoctoral studies. You have invited Nobel Prize winners. You have strived to change economic theory, but also you have transformed businesses into places of fraternity and communion. And above all, you have improved the lives of the poorest. I have just learned about your Fraternity Index, a statistical study on the state of fraternity in the world. Year after year, this can become an indicator to measure the ethical and integral human development of the planet. This is fantastic because you are providing tools to an idea that once seemed impossible: fraternity as a parameter of development. When Pope Francis met a delegation of the economy of Francesco in September 2024, he left you with 3 words that are true compass for your activities. Be witnesses, do not be afraid, hope without tiring. Today, more than ever, the world needs a fraternal economy, capable of placing people and the common good at the center of a world severely marked by conflict and war. Today, the challenge is immense, but that is the very reason why your mission is all the more urgent. The Focolare movement, with the economy of communion, is among the promoters and the founders of the Economy of Francesco Foundation. We are with you. We will not leave you alone. You are the protagonists, the key players in this economic revolution in universities and in businesses. The Economy of Francesco will continue to be active and important as long as it is a place where people can meet and express themselves, as you are doing in these days. I commend you for your dedication and enthusiasm. Let us continue together to rebuild an economy based on the heart of St. Francis of Assisi, who made the gospel the foundation of the change he brought about.
We warmly thank Margaret for her message. I personally read it before and I was like moved with her message so much. So thank you, Margaret, for your encouragement, your closeness to our journey of the Economy of Francesco. Thank you so much.
And thank you again, Father Giampiero. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we now continue. Oh, please. Applause is always excellent. So we will now continue, okay, with our voices that invite us to look ahead. Young people who help us read the present with clarity and imagine the future with courage.
It is our joy to reintroduce prophetic voices for a new economy. That same space of yesterday where young change makers from around the world share insights, challenges, and signs of hope emerging from their contexts.
So, welcome, dear friends. Continue to inspire us. The floor is yours.
Good morning.
Erere Inayuit. My name is Barbara Borumkren. I'm an indigenous woman from Minas Gerais, Brazil. And today I want to share my prophetic story dedicated to indigenous memory for healing relationships among people and with the earth. From a young age, I understood that living in an indigenous territory means perceiving the world through relationships, those that sustain life, foster belonging, and guide shared responsibility between humans and non-humans. Growing up in an area marked by historical violence due to mineral exploitation helped me realize the importance of keeping alive our ancestral connection to mountains, rivers, rocks, and forests to defend our land.
Foi declarada uma guerra
In 1808, a war of extermination was declared against my people by the Portuguese crown because of economic interests in our mineral riches. Even if we were declared extinct, we, however, through resistance, spirituality, and living memory, we have withstood this challenge, and we are here to state that we are alive and strong, fighting to defend our land, home, body, and territory, and to show that the economy is not just a technical system.
acompanhar a retomada
It can also organize care, reciprocity, and the continuity of life. This experience sparked my vocation, working with traditional communities, supporting also a recovery of our local lands. Researching historical ecology, I realized that hegemonic economic models fail to protect and often threaten life. And this led me to explore community governance, sustainable economies, and processes of bicultural memory restoration in Brazil and throughout the American continent. My project tries to understand and enhance these processes to restore the memory of my people, integrating historical ecology, community governance, and sustainable economies.
são sistemas
And it stems from the recognition that indigenous territories are complex living systems where biocultural memory, care practices, spirituality, political organization, and environmental stewardship are deeply intertwined. This initiative involves young people, traditional leaders, women from the local territory, indigenous researchers, and allies in Brazil and abroad. It also includes partnerships with other groups aimed at mapping the entire symbology of our local territory, identifying all the social ecological cascades and support community decision making based on sovereignty, autonomy, and well-being. Meanwhile, the project aims to understand how our ancestral practices and indigenous social technologies can direct alternative economic models focused on reciprocity, the protection of life, and the collective management of common goods. My initiative is prophetic because it profoundly listens to the earth and to the peoples who have cared for it for millennia. It directly challenges the prevailing economic system that's based on extraction, on individualism, placing instead at the center of our economy reciprocity, care, memory, and the interdependence of all beings. Through restoring our local area and our Borom Kren people, and in dialogue with indigenous ecological regeneration across the American continent, my project exposes the ethical, social, and ecological limits of the current system and highlights existing paths towards an alternative paradigm, a tangible utopia which can be experienced daily in our indigenous territories. We're going through a very difficult time, climate crisis threatening life cycles, biodiversity loss, violence against communities, defending forests, rivers, seas, and mountains, and the fragmentation of belonging. In this context, this initiative asserts that the future depends on recognizing indigenous territories as living entities, and therefore placing this at the center of our concerns, not profit, not money, but instead taking care of everything, supporting the autonomy of people. And so I propose economic models that are based on the land. My project is focused on common life, on living together, and appreciating what we have received and also taking care of what we have received and taking care of the younger generation. So this is the prophecy that actually stems from my local territory, calling the world to embrace change. 80% of the world's forests are within indigenous areas, that account for 5% of the global population. Our lifestyle, for instance, it protects forests, and when our rights are ensured, also the forests are protected. In the prevailing system right now, this is something that is not accounted for, even the value of what we're doing. So the answer lies within us. This was my prophetic experience to then restart the economy. And I leave you with a question at this point. How will you work to strengthen and honor biocultural memory in indigenous territories to support the new economy we are already building? And I'm talking to those who come from countries and cultures that have exterminated native peoples and have exploited our natural resources. I'm asking you especially, how will you work to strengthen the biocultural memory of our territories? I repeat once again. Therefore, to basically correct history and support the new economy that stems from the resistance coming from our peoples and that we are already building day by day in our territories. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Miriam. I'm from a small country called Wales, but I live in London. And today I will share my prophetic story dedicated to human trafficking. I've had a long-standing interest in the rights of people on the move, studying languages with an interest in migration, and questioning how the richer countries of our world can better respond to waves of forced displacement. Since studying, I've worked for various organisations on migrant rights with asylum seekers, refugees, and people who have been trafficked. Throughout this work, it's disturbing to see how often someone's status as a migrant means that they experience the worst of the country they are living in. Worse access to services, worse treatment by authorities, worse quality of life in general, and as a result, how they are made more vulnerable to trafficking and exploitation. I worked with people who had experienced trafficking at all points of the journey from their home country to the UK, but the real heartbreak for me was hearing from people who had navigated near impossible journeys to reach a country of safety, only to have their vulnerability further multiplied by hostile policies in the UK. The systemic disenfranchisement that they were met with meant that it felt like refugees were almost as vulnerable to exploitation in the UK as they were in the war-torn settings they had fled. It was clear that something needed to change, and the more I read and learned about human trafficking, the more I realised how ingrained it is in our society, how it's woven into every thread of our economy. We need systemic changes resulting in long-term positive impact. For a while now, I've been working for a charity called the Santa Marta Group. The Santa Marta Group, also founded with the help of Pope Francis, works to connect leaders of faith groups with those in law enforcement, government, and civil society, all to reprioritise the fight against human trafficking. We help people understand the scale and pervasiveness of human trafficking on both a local and a global level, and we connect them to work collaboratively together to prevent it. We influence at a leadership level, but we also advocate for communities and, crucially, churches to be the local leaders in a movement that will not stand for systemic exploitation. Churches must practice what they preach on justice, and this begins with inward examination. The fight against trafficking requires moral leadership against a culture of indifference. We're helping churches to be at the head of this. Human trafficking thrives on greed and overproduction at the grave expense of people and often the planet. By fighting human trafficking, we are rejecting these harms and reiterating the innate dignity of every human, which should, of course, be protected. Throughout my work with people on the move, working with individuals in some of the most tumultuous moments in their lives, it was clear to see how injustice on an individual level is underpinned by systems. Systems like the asylum system in the UK, which are not fit for purpose, which are simply failing people. And more sinisterly, systems like some visa pathways I see in the UK, which are, I feel, built to fail people. Systems designed not to help those who are marginalized, but instead to uphold and exacerbate inequality. Even more profoundly, it's clear to see that the repeated injustices and systemic marginalization which lead people into systems of exploitation are always underpinned by systems of economic inequality. So, if we are to fix the issue of trafficking, we need to look not only at how we treat migrants, but at our whole economic system. The Santa Marta Group's project is about encouraging faith groups to challenge the status quo. This is at the core of the EOF's new economy. We are collectively recognizing that the systems as we currently accept them are in fact both unacceptable and unviable for people and planet. Faith groups, I believe, are uniquely positioned to be leaders in this charge against injustice. With both a global moral voice and a local presence across the world, they can act as microcosms of society, modeling what a fairer, more compassionate one might look like. When faith groups carefully consider their procurement practices, teach against greed and overconsumption, and care for those members of their communities who are most disadvantaged, they show the rest of the world what it means to live out a commitment to fighting exploitation. And why does this matter today? Because human trafficking only continues to gain momentum. There are an estimated 50 million people globally in situations of human trafficking. And forced labor alone generates $236 billion annually. $236 billion. Churches have for centuries been centers of social good, and they're still leading the way in many places. The National Churches Trust in the UK estimates that in the 40,000 church buildings around the country, they're generating around £500 billion per year in social value. We know faith groups around the world lead on care and rehabilitation for those who've experienced trafficking, not least religious sisters. And this work is invaluable. But we need them to start being a part of the prevention too. We need them to demonstrate a rejection of the culture of indifference that allows this crime to thrive. The same culture of indifference which Pope Leo yesterday invited us to step out of. We need to act boldly for human dignity by refusing to participate in a system built on exploitation. This was my story. This was my prophetic experience for restarting the economy. I'd like to leave you with a question. How will you work to counter human trafficking, to support the new economy that we are already building? Thank you.
Paz y bien. Mi nombre es Francisco Antonio Chavarría Solano. Vengo de Orosi, Costa Rica. Y hoy quiero
Peace and good.
a la libertad.
My name is Francisco Antonio Chavarria. I come from Orosi, Costa Rica. And today I wish to share with you my prophetic story dedicated to freedom. I would like to begin with an excerpt from the poem Vuelo Supremo by Costa Rican writer Julian Marchena. And the first verse says, I want to live the adventurous life of wandering seabirds. So oriented towards freedom, truth, and authenticity, seeking to bear fruit. Years ago, I was asked what my personal motto was, and I replied, I want to be a free and happy soul who lives for the common good, willing to love and serve humbly. I am the only child of a large family, but at the age of 17, I was embraced by another large family, the Franciscan family, the Franciscan youth. At that time, I began studying economics, and there was a dual path, the vocational and the academic one, and this opened up for me unexpected horizons. When I left my country for the first time, I discovered the meaning of borders, but I also understood a fraternity can erase them, sharing with others, walking together, taking a coffee, and then saying goodbye with a pura vida reminds us that we are brothers and sisters beyond all borders. So I return to the word freedom, a word that is so important for all. 20 years ago, a friar asked me if I knew what my name meant, and I replied, yeah, the little Frenchman. He smiled and he said, no, it means freedom. So at that moment, I was surprised. But then, as time passed, I became aware and understood that Francis is freedom to love, choose, share, work, struggle, question oneself, and place one's talents received from God and cultivated within the family and the community at the service of the common good. In my regional history, freedom has a very concrete meaning. In 1821, the provinces of Central America proclaimed their independence and started building states. Traditionally, every year we celebrate this journey through the torch of freedom, a symbol of peace, light, and hope that travels from hand to hand among young people from Guatemala on 1st September up to Costa Rica on 14th September. Inspired by this spirit, the Central American Hub organized the celebration of Youth Day 2025. And to this end, we organized also a race that was free and open to everyone, regardless of age and place of residence. So the aim was to break down barriers, promote change. This initiative invited people to get moving, meet others, and dream a more just and sustainable world. So the race brought together sports, community, reflection, and fun. Walking through the city or nature became a concrete gesture of hope for ethical and global transformation. In the context of the 800th anniversary of the Canticle of the Creatures, a prophetic message of peace and solidarity. The first edition had 52 participants from 13 countries who walked, ran, or cycled to complete a distance of 205 kilometers together, equivalent to 293,000 steps, investing around 40 hours in quality of life, reflection, and positive energy. Out of these 52 participants, we hope that every action in their experience may be a source of inspiration, and that may be a proclamation and annunciation following the example of Francis of Assisi, who was a person who was courageous, passionate, supportive, understanding, authentic, without borders of owners, hopeful, free, helpful. The distance traveled also invites us to reflect on the realities that require transformation. For example, in Costa Rica, there are about 205 kilometers between Santa Ana and Talamanca, two deeply different territories. Santa Ana represents a high income hub, but with challenges such as pollution, while Talamanca, which is an indigenous community with great cultural environmental wealth, well, they are affected by high levels of poverty. Transforming these realities is a concrete task that requires us to commit strongly, as Pope Francis asked us to do. But we cannot do it alone. We have to do it together. Promoting change precisely, discovering my vocation as a person, a son, grandchild, cousin, godfather, and friend, and living my vocation as a secular Franciscan and an economist, a teacher, a civil servant, a researcher, and a member of the Economy of Francis has meant growing within my community and meeting people from very diverse socioeconomic, cultural, and environmental realities. From these people, I learned the essential love towards oneself, one's neighbor, and God. And this view, this gaze of based on equality drives me to promote an economy of meaningful gestures based on respect, peace, dialogue, and cooperation. Vocation is personal, but then it expands and is co-created every day with our community. I've always believed that you have to put your heart and soul into everything you do. Like Lord Voldemort. And that is why my purpose is that every action I carry out, no matter small, like listening to a friend, accompanying somebody on a bus, offering my condolences, or teaching with enthusiasm, well, they are a seed of change. And I try to make sure that every gesture is not superficial, that it gives value to the essential, that it transforms our everyday life into signs of hope, because the true economy of tomorrow is born out of love. It is sustained by taking care of our brothers and sisters and our common home. I began with a verse, and before concluding, I would like to refer to the final verse of the Costa Rican national anthem, which says, "Long live work and peace." This has been my story and my prophetic experience to revive, relaunch the economy. And I want to ask you a question before I end. How will you work to support the new economy of peace that we are building based on your freedom of choice, vocational freedom of choice? So we look forward to seeing you at the second edition of our race 2026. It's called Carrera. Thank you for your attention.
These accidents that happen fall of the dots. Coincidence makes sense only with you. You don't have to speak, you feel emotional landscapes. They pass on me, and the riddle gets solved, and you push me up to this state of is where I want to be. State of emergency, how beautiful to that no one sees. You see what's inside of me. Every nerve that hurts, you heal deep inside of you. You don't have to speak. I feel emotional landscapes. They puzzle me, confused. Then the rhythm gets soft, and you push me up to this state of emergency. How beautiful to be state of emergency is where I want to be. State of emergency, how beautiful to emotional landscapes. They puzzle me, confused. Then the riddle gets solved, and you push me up to this state of emergency. How beautiful to be state of emergency is where I want to be. State of emergency, how beautiful to be. State of emergency, how beautiful to
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Nishi DeSouza, and I come from Jacksonville, Florida, in the United States of America. And today, I will share my prophetic story dedicated to livability. My life is a story of legacy and generations of family migrating to new places in the pursuit of a livable life. My grandparents grew up in small villages in India, and my parents, dreaming of more opportunity for us, immigrated to the United States when I was 5 years old. As a deeply caring person, I thought that I should become a doctor. However, I quickly learned that systems of care emphasize sickness and prevention of death, not health. This mentality has a time and place because, as we just heard, death is a sister. It is hard for someone to achieve redemption or receive grace if they are not alive. However, my passion, my desire, is about creating systems of thriving, flourishing, living. This led me to the field of public health. Public health, which typically operates behind the scenes, is an interdisciplinary field that centers prevention and community care. However, it is not immune to our current economic systems. Public health work is not incentivized strongly unless there is a financial profit angle involved. My work explores the impact of community care interventions, such as mutual aid, peer support, or building social infrastructure, such as libraries and parks. I study how to efficiently implement and sustain these interventions, how to convene teams of people working across sectors to make these visions a reality, and how to leverage research methods to estimate the resulting health, social, and economic benefits. These place-based interventions increase livability, however, typically not for all. For those of you that have heard the common adage of health is wealth, the reciprocal is often insidiously ignored. We live in a society where wealth is health. The good and livable neighborhoods are highly sought after because they are rife with community amenities and free of health hazards. In this pursuit of a livable life, we often turn a blind eye to people living in those less desirable neighborhoods. But what would their journeys look like if we intentionally created healthy places for them? Individuals who were formerly incarcerated, those battling substance addiction, severe mental illness, experiencing homelessness. The one thing these groups have in common is that they are frequently discarded by our economic systems. They are directly and indirectly told that their journeys, their lives, and their spirits do not matter. My work aims to support these individuals, many of whom go on, recover from these conditions, and go on to be peer leaders, paying it forward in ways that are unimaginable and often unpredictable. My work involves community-driven, place-based interventions centering dignity and empathy, designed to strengthen assets and meet the needs of these populations. Friends, this work, this goal, is not aligned with profit. There is no profit angle. It's not incentivized by our current economic systems. It isn't flashy or glamorous or ingenious. It's not things like robotics or artificial intelligence, as Pope Leo mentioned in his surprise message yesterday. It's community. Community which has existed for centuries. It's not a new concept by any means, a dusty and dated concept, but a radical reckoning that no matter how far we have come, how far we've progressed, we still need each other to live. As a researcher, I identify how to bring people together, united by the place they live and the place they love, to work together for the goal of livability. This work represents the engagement of a distinct sector, a perhaps unexplored avenue of how public health can be leveraged to support the needed collaboration of sectors to create this new economy. This moment, I am struck by how unique and diverse the work we all are doing is, but also what we have in common. Wandering through the EOF fair, I witnessed so much wonderful, life-affirming work, and I encourage all of you to keep in mind public health and how to engage this distinct sector. This moment, being in community with all of you, discerning how we can collectively build a people-centered economy. This is perhaps a moment that I have only dreamed of, the fruition of investment of my parents and grandparents, and the legacy of all of the previous generations of my family. This moment, a culmination in many ways, is also only the beginning. So, I would like to leave you all with a question. How will you work to support livability, to support the new economy that we are already building? Thank you.
Ndeo, that's me greeting you in Igbo language. I'm from Nigeria, and my name is Joshua. That's Joshua, the son of none that I'm named after. Ugum Sinachi, that means my honor is from God. And Okori, that means my father is a boy that was born on Ode Day, one of the market days in Igbo land. Today, I'm here to talk to you about my prophetic story dedicated to inclusion, but with particular focus on the church and her people. The Jubilee was instituted originally for the people of Israel. That's Leviticus chapter 25. The question is, what are we all doing here? We're not all Jewish or Israelites. The truth is that Jesus had expanded the Jubilee into a more global and inclusive mandate. He wanted everyone to be part of the kingdom of God, calling all of us to become the light of the world and the salt of the earth, and to lead as protagonists of the new economy. This begins with God's love in our hearts and continues with the love we radiate outward to illuminate our communities. This is the meaning of what Jesus led us to pray in the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. God wanted his love to be in the hearts of men. From there, he would rule the world from the hearts of men. Growing up in a multifaceted society as Nigeria, I was a boy born in the northern of Nigeria, but hails from the south. I saw firsthand both Christians and people of other religions often miss this core of to practice God's love, but without the power of God's salvation. I saw people who tried to who actually loved and who were loved. I saw them turn to war at any slightest provocation because they did lack the power thereof that gave this love. But that's outside the inclusion, the general inclusion of including everyone. I also saw the people that our light was supposed to reach, work the hardest, but yet they remain trapped in vicious cycles they did not create. But while others, often with no effort of their own, sat at very vantage points where opportunities flowed simply to them. This was not just inequality; it was a sense that the economy itself had lost its fairness and justice. This conviction that God did not design human dignity to be negotiated led to my desire to democratize access. But I wanted to do that not as charity, but as leverage for everyone who was willing to work. and that leads to what my work is. I'm a venture builder. I'm a venture capitalist as well, which means I lead multiple initiatives. What is at the core of my work is to build a system where efforts, creativity, and contributions lead to transformative productivity, especially for those at the base of the pyramid. This calling has guided every stage of my life. My signature project at AM Steel South, the One Venture Fund 2, is Farm Plexus, which is designed to guarantee food security, strengthen climate resilience, and model pathway for shared prosperity. We leverage market systems in ways that deliver reflective justice. For example, poor farmers do not necessarily benefit only from their individual performance. They leverage when the value chain performance improve as well. We provide them bundled financing, regenerative inputs, and AI-driven protocols to unlock yield, grow income, restore the environment, and improve supply chains. For instance, now you have what you call cassava glut in Nigeria. The farmers in Farm Plexus do not necessarily need to lose, because our data help us pick that there will be a cassava glut, and we now redirect where they supply to maybe to export markets or to other industries, people making starch, so they do not have to face cassava glut. We leverage our market advantage to redistribute assets. For instance, we use our bidding power to make sure that women and youths have access to land that they customarily do not own to farm. Our goal is simple. We are trying to democratize the tool for productivity and economic power for people who feed the continent. I am also co-building another project in our One Venture Fund 2, the Biodiversity Island Generators. I presented that yesterday in one of the extraordinary ideas. A system that allows last mile people who are taking care of their landscapes and forests earn forest credits, and they can use that to access payment solutions, including credits, insurance products, and grantees and pension, as well as payment from participating financial partners. In communities where environmental protection once meant personal sacrifice without reward, what the Biodiversity Island Generator introduces fairness in a way that we care for the forest, they earn from the forest and prosper as the forest prospers as well. We begin with inclusion, scale through innovation, and culminate into leverage. That leverage is the fifth factor of production, if you will. That ensures that people at the margin becomes the co-author of the new economy. Our alignment with the prophetic economy. What my work is, it's not just prophetic because it predicts the future, no. But because we build Jesus' desire for God's kingdom in this present world, beginning with transformed hearts through salvation, shining outwards to influence society. The kingdom is about influence. God wants influence in this very present world. Jesus taught us to pray, of course, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. God don't want to do politics in IMF or in the World Bank or in the EU or AU. He wants to rule the hearts of men. That's where he wants to sit. I seek a just system only Jesus and his love can give. A future where the logic of the economy shifts from extraction to stewardship, from exclusion to participation, from charity to structural empowerment. I do not claim a perfect system, not at all, but I believe that we can build one that avoids the capitalist error of accumulation without limits, of progress without pause, of growth without soul, as the economy of Francesco rightly puts it, while also outsmarting the flaw of socialism and communism, which attempts to legislate love while denying the love of God. God is love, of course, so you cannot legislate love without God. The Marxist dictum, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs, though seemingly echoing the early Christians' fellowship, where you saw that they distributed everything in one accord according to their needs, Acts chapter 4, verse 34, violates the koinonia of the economic jubilee. Paul admonishes us that those unwilling to work should not eat. Second Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10. Jesus commanded us to love our neighbors as ourselves. Yet, love itself does not require subsidizing willful idleness. My model recognizes the rationality of economic life and focuses on leverage, ensuring that anyone willing to work receive commensurate outcome. Please do not note my emphasis on unwillingness to work, not the inability to work. Charity must, of course, remain the cornerstone in the new economy that we seek. We demonstrate religion as peace, virtue, and love through the power of God without imposition, shining light through diligence, integrity, customer protection, corporate accountability, egalitarianism, and giving to the poor. These are the very principles the Christians used to transform Europe and America to surpass advanced Asian civilization of their time. As with the economy of Francesco, we do not want efficiency at the cost of dignity, but something radically different, an economy with a soul, where humans beings are protagonists, not instruments. People possess immense capacity, including knowledge, resilience, social cohesion, ecological intelligence, but lack leverage. The capacity to convert contributions into outcomes. Our work design operating systems that capture this capacity and turns it into a productive force, addressing climate collapse, food insecurity, and economic exclusion. When a farmer earns a pension, when she protects her sacred forest, when young people can remain in rural communities because agriculture finally pays, when ecological restoration becomes a pathway for financial stability, then we are no longer theorizing a new economy, we are living it. Dear friends, seniors, brothers and sisters, the old economic system is very much exhausted, and the world is searching for new answers that only God can give. Yet, many Christians today are apologetic about being Christians. In fact, it's very difficult to know who is a Christian in an office, but you know who is a Muslim, you know who is a traditionalist in most cases. Treating faith as a niche activity confines to Sundays rather than mainstream expression across business policy and society and everyday living. As I prepared for this talk and as I prayed about it, I felt in my spirit that God is saying to me that just as John the Baptist was a forerunner of Jesus, so God wants us today to usher in the new jubilee, to strong Christ's everlasting kingdom for him. This is my story. This is my prophetic experience for restarting economy. But before I go, I would love to leave you with a question. How will your work, everyday work, in the office, at home, in the marketplace, how will your work, how will it allow the power of the gospel of Jesus to influence your work and transform the economy into a flourishing home for every one of us? Thank you very much.
Hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Ciao. ¿Cómo estáis? Shubho Shakal and good morning. My name is Hasib. I come from Bangladesh and I'm the Vice President of Leadership Development Association International in Bangladesh. And today I will share my prophetic story dedicated to dignity. I grew up in a place where dignity is often a dream, something people feel but seldom name. In my childhood, I watched my community grappling with pollution, poverty, and deep social divides. By the Turag River, I saw children playing beside water turned black from west. I saw girls my age stop going to school because their education was considered optional. And I grew up hearing the same resigned phrase again and again. This is just how things are. But even as a teenager, something in me refused to accept that. I remember standing beside the river one evening, watching a group of boys throwing stones into the water to see how far they could reach. The stone would disappear instantly into the darkness. No ripples, no reflections, no trace. And for the first time, I asked myself, what happens to a society whose rivers can no longer hold its reflection? This question became the quiet beginning of my calling. Over time, I learned that the crisis around me was not only ecological or economic, it was a crisis of dignity. The dignity of rivers, the dignity of our people, the dignity of our future. Later, when I first attended the Economy of Francesco in 2022 and shared a space with late Prof. Francis, something awakened deep in me. I realized that dignity is not something we wait to receive. It is something we rebuild together through action, compassion, and courage. That moment clarified my path. It turned my grief into my for my community into commitment, and my sense of injustice into a lifelong mission. Today, my work is centered on youth-led initiative called Civic Connect Bangladesh, a project rooted in restoring the dignity of people, of ecosystems, and possibilities. Through this initiative, we lead climate education, civic engagement, and social justice programs for young people and marginalized communities. Our work began as simple river cleanups with a small group of volunteers, but it quickly grew into something larger. Workshops in school, interfaith dialogues on environmental ethics, girls' education campaigns, and training sessions on community leadership and ecological restoration. We work especially with communities living along polluted rivers, rural girls facing systematic barriers, and young people who feel unheard in the decisions that shape their future. Civic Connect is not just an environmental project. It is a space where young people reclaim their voice, where girls walk into rooms that once excluded them, and where communities rediscover the power of collective action. It is a moment that insists that everything in the margins, renewal is possible. Our mission is simple, yet radical, to bridge local struggles with global conversations, and to show that dignity and sustainability must grow side by side. In Bangladesh, where climate change hits hardest and opportunities remain uneven, this work is not only necessary, it is urgent. What makes Civic Connect prophetic is not its size. It is the direction it points towards. It embodies the conviction that economy of tomorrow must be built from peripheries, from those who have been excluded, underestimated, or silenced. It challenges the idea that prosperity should be measured by growth alone. Instead, it proposes a future where prosperity is measured by belonging, by justice, and by the dignity afforded to every person and every ecosystem. In many ways, our work responds to the signs of the times that Pope Francis often spoke about: the cry of the earth, the cry of the poor, and the cry of the young. Bangladesh is a place where these cries meet. Rising waters threaten our homes, inequality challenges our hope, and young people search for meaning in systems that were not built for them. But these same young people, when given trust, tools, and space, become carriers of prophetic imagination. Civic Connect offers a new way of living and working together, one that mirrors the values of Economia Francesco. It shows that care is not a sentiment, it is a form of social transformation. Education is not a privilege, it is a form of liberation. Environmental justice is not activism, it is moral imperative. Our initiative challenges the dominant economic model by centering human relationships rather than transactions, community power rather than individual gain, and ecological restoration rather than extraction. It invites young people to see themselves not as beneficiaries of economy, but as co-creators of a new one. The prophetic dimension lies in its simplicity. A group of young people with no formal authority and no financial privilege, building an alternative rooted in dignity, solidarity, and care. It anticipates a world where value is not defined by, competition, but by connection. It speaks of a future where the margins become the teachers and where the smallest communities can inspire the greatest changes. In May this year, in Berlin, I had the unexpected honor of meeting German Federal President Frank-Walter Steinmeier. I was the only young delegate from Asia, and where he approached me, he asked what brought me there. I told him I came to understand how history shapes our responsibility to each other. He paused, smiled gently, and said something that has stayed with me ever since. Voices like yours reminds us that leadership is not measured by titles, but by courage. In that moment, I understood that dignity is not something granted by power. It is recognized in the truth we carry and hope we dare to speak. That brief exchange strengthened my belief that even as a young person from a small country, my voice can help share global conversations. And it reaffirmed to me that every step we take with integrity, no matter how small, can have a ripple effect far beyond where we stand. Today, we are living in a world defined by fragmentation between people and the planet, between wealth and need, between what we say and what we do. Inequality widens, ecosystems collapse, and hope often feels like a luxury. But this is precisely why our work and the work of this community matters so deeply. Restoring dignity is not an abstract ideal, it is a response to the wounds of our time. It is a way of healing the fractures that define our world, and it begins with small acts. Teaching a girl her rights, cleaning a riverbank with strangers who becomes your neighbors, turning despair into a dialogue. The Economia Francesco reminds us that another way is possible, not someday, but starting right now, and that the future will be shaped not by those with the most power, but by those with the most conviction. This was my story. This was my prophetic experience for restoring the economy. I'd like to leave you with a question to everyone. How will you work for your dignity to support the new economy that we are already building? Will you be the change that you want to see in this world, or just watch the chaos of this world unfold in front of you as always? Thank you, everyone, and thank you for listening to me.
Well, well, what a morning, huh? We would like to thank each and every voice we heard today. They were Barbara, Miriam, Francisco, Nishita, Joshua, and Hasib. Thank you so much for your courage, your clarity, and the hope you bring to all of us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding us that prophecy is not about predicting tomorrow, but about illuminating today, so that a different tomorrow becomes possible. Thank you so much. And now, as we come to the end of this morning day, we want to thank all of you and everybody online for your presence and your patience and for being here with us today.
Yeah, now a couple of instructions, okay? We are now moving to the next phase of our program, which is the workshop sessions. These spaces are designed for encounter, creativity, and collaboration, and we invite you to make the most of them. Pay attention to the instructions now, okay? Just receive it. People are invited to participate at the workshops. They receive it at the check-in. You cannot change. Please don't do that. Workshops start at 11 a.m., so in 15 minutes. But for workshops at Borgo Laudato Si, we please ask participants to meet, wait just a second, immediately, right after this plenary, at the reception with Beatrice Cerino. Please, no delays. She will be there waiting for you. Workshops at Oratorio di Castel Gandolfo, please meet at the same time, now 10:45, at the gate entrance of Centro Mariapoli with Chiara Pancino, okay? Chiara Pancino for Oratorio and Beatrice Cerino for Borgo Laudato Si. And all the information about the workshops places were given to you at the check-in.
And before you go, a brief note. These 15 workshops are the result of a truly collaborative process involving the coordinators of the 12 EOF villages, members of our global community, young people and seniors, experts and partners, organizations such as UNEPAC, UCHIT, the Laudato Si Action Platform, Caritas Europa, and Caritas Internationals. Together, they all have co-designed spaces for reflection, dialogue, and creativity, where participants can collectively explore key dimensions of our economies and imagine paths of renewal.
And lastly, a gentle reminder to please be punctual for lunch, okay? Especially those participating here in the workshops here in Centro Mariapoli. Your punctuality is essential for us to guarantee that the entire program runs smoothly.
And for our online audience, stay connected. We will meet again at 2:30 p.m. for the keynote session, Care in the Age of AI.
So thank you once again for this beautiful morning to everyone, each of you, and our participants, our speakers, and see you soon at 2:30. Thank you.